Good day to you, Guyana, and welcome to Nation Watch. I am Malika Ramsey. I trust that you all are having a great Sunday thus far. On today's program of Nation Watch, we're talking about youth, and I actually have a youth panel, and we're discussing the importance of youth in society, some of the issues that we face, and some of the issues that we need addressed immediately. And this program comes at an opportune time. Of course, most of you would know or would not know that the Guyana Youth and Student Movement recently elected its new executive body. The movement had its congress a week or so ago, and yesterday a new executive body was elected. And of course, I have some of those members on the panel with me today. So, as I said, the program dealing with youth, focusing on youth, comes at an opportune time. Also, on today's program, because it's Sunday and we don't only want you to think about and talk about serious issues, we also want you to relax a bit. I know most of you out there are fans of, or I should say, were fans of Miss Maya Angelou. Of course, you know, she passed on earlier in this year. So, we thought it would be good to give you a little treat by showing you about two poems from her today. So, while we're talking serious issues, discussing serious issues, we want to also give you a chance to be inspired a bit and to be able to relax as you enjoy today's program and today's discussion. Now, I introduce my panel, which I'm very happy to have three young, prominent persons in the People's National Congress Reform, and they're part of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. I begin by introducing to you the lone female, well, with the exception of myself, the lone female on the panel, Miss Benita Sampson. Miss Sampson is a general council member of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, and again, I must stress the recently new elected body of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. Welcome, Miss Benita Sampson.
Thank you for having me, Miss Ramsey.
All right.
I'm happy to be here. Hello,
Yes.
viewers.
Great to have you, and I know they're happy to have you too. And of course, the closest to me, Mr. Kibwe Copeland. Of course, I don't think he's a stranger to any of you actually, because he's a Region 4 councillor, and recently he's been elected as the junior vice chairperson for the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. Welcome to you, Kibwe.
Well, welcome to all. Thank you for being here also, Malika.
All right, great to have you. And of course, the person who's probably the brightest on the panel today because of his shirt, Mr. Brian Smith, recently elected National Secretary of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ramsey. Thank you. Good day, viewers.
All right, he's blushing, so it's not only the shirt that's making him bright today.
Bright smile, huh?
The bright smile. And viewers, I must also tell you, even though he's not on the panel today, we take this opportunity to say congratulations to the new chairman of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, Mr. Ryan Belgrave. Congratulations and good luck. And I should also tell you that this body will serve from 2014 to 2016. That's when next the Guyana Youth and Student Movement will hold its Congress. Now on to some of our discussions, the issues that we're going to be focusing on today. As you know, it's always a saying. We always hear our leaders say things like, "Oh, the youths are the future. We need to prepare them for the future." But the question really is, are we prepared for the future to take over the reins, whether it be government or in any organization? Are we really ready to take over leader positions in various organizations? Of course, the panel will tell us about why they feel that we are ready or we're not ready, and of course, some of the other challenges that they face. But first off, I want to begin with Mr. Kibwe Copeland. I introduced you as a Region 4 councillor. Sometimes we forget certain positions in society exist and we don't understand what they are about. So just tell the viewers a bit about Kibwe Copeland as a Region 4 councillor.
Yes, well, as a Region 4 councillor, putting it in plain words, it's the enabling of democratic and local decisions on behalf of our region and the citizens of that region. Several regions, even Region 4, Region 10, 5, etc. Now, to put it in plain words, we are the policy makers of the region. Also, we control and make sure that the resources of the region and things are well done within the region. Now, me as a young regional councillor, being on the regional board, was a lot of experience, to be honest. A lot of experience. Also, you got to feel, besides being a part of a youth group, a more senior position and dealing with different parties, because at the region it's similar to Parliament. We sit in the boardroom, we have the statutory meetings, and we have one side which is APNU, one side which is PPP, and the other side which is AFC. Well, in Region 4, APNU has the majority. Now, besides the statutory meetings, we have different set dates for different meetings and committees, as in youth, sports and culture, works and hydraulics, health and sanitation, education, etc. And we deal with all these different issues. We do it on a day-to-day basis, and the administration takes out the mandate of putting forward what we, the council, decides, or the policies, etc., and make sure that those work is being done within the region. Now, the region work is it is challenging. It is challenging, and also it is more challenging for the fact that our government of some kind trying to stifle us in different ways. We have a lot of challenges in that case also, because to get your work done, to execute your work, there's a lot of shortcomings, a lot of different loopholes that is causing this whole stagnation of our work to be put forward. But we try our best. But that's just a small brief towards what the regional council is all about.
Okay, I'm going to also take this opportunity because I know you're also responsible in the GYSM for local government and regional development. Now, before we had this talk about no confidence motion and possible general elections, Guyana facing possible general elections, maybe before the year is out or in the beginning of the new year, we were talking about local government elections. Do you get the sense that our young people are really into the necessity for not only local government elections, but the importance of any election so that we can get a government that we're satisfied with? Do you get the sense that young people are on board politically?
Now, my point of view, of course, you're talking to me singularly, right? The young people, when it comes to local government, most young people will look at local government as an old cronies thing. Majority of the councillors at the NDCs or the IMCs are persons in the above age of 40 or 50s and etc. The young people are not motivated most into that area because the problem is the education of how important the NDC is and the role that the NDC plays within the community. And because of that lack of knowledge, they don't see the importance. That's one of the reasons, as in being a part of GYSM, one of our main emphasis is on education. And as we know that local government elections, it's been a long time since we didn't have local government elections. We're looking forward for one, but it seems that the general elections might come before. And in some cases, it is also a good idea because let's say we have a local government election before the regional elections, and councillors are appointed. We still have this problem with the IMCs going on. Also, our councillors that may put there will also be stifled in the same way as me as a regional council is being stifled because of the government situation at this present state. And our young people also are not ready. We still need to pull them together to understand what's really going on, right? But not to say that we young people are not inspiring to do stuff, but it's just the knowledge and education of what the importance of the NDCs or the IMCs.
Okay.
So that's my view on that.
All right, I'm going to come back to that readiness later on. It's interesting that you should bring that up because some say we're ready and others say we're not. And I want to know what we really think about our own preparedness. Now, to the national chairperson of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, what really is the aim of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, Brian, in terms of pulling out our young people and getting them more involved in not only politics but in life in general in Guyana in terms of having a developed country? What really is the Guyana Youth and Student Movement responsible for, and do you believe that the Guyana Youth and Student Movement can achieve that goal or those goals?
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. The Guyana Youth and Student Movement's charge or responsibility is to mobilize, educate young people across the country to participate in the affairs of the country. It means that the GYSM's function is to ensure that every single young person can play an integral role in the affairs of the country. The Guyana Student Movement mirrors every single national entity and has a stake in every single national issue that exists. It's a national body representing representing the 10 administrative regions in the municipalities. It is the GYSM who functions in the People's National Congress in defense of the PNCR, which is a major player in the APN, in the Partnership for National Unity. And as such, we stand in defense of policies of democracy, policies of youth empowerment, and youth promotion. That's our major function. To the question of whether or not we believe that young people are part of the process or interested in the process, the evidence of the last election at the Congress is testimony of the fact that young people believe that they have a stake, a role, and are ready to participate. It is because young people have given themselves the opportunity, have taken the opportunity to be a part of an election process, the democratic election process at Congress Place, to elect a new executive, tells the nation that there are young people who are ready to replace. There are young persons who are making themselves available to be trained in the affairs of our country. So I believe that, especially in the People's National Congress and the GYSM, that young people are prepared.
I get that, but for a minute or two, I want to talk about those, because there's always a group or several groups of young people who are going to say, look, I'm not necessarily involved in this. And I like to talk about bread and butter issues. I prefer go after the bread and butter issues than become part of a political organization that I'm not sure will be successful in the future. How do you, or I should ask you, is it challenging to pull those young people on board, whether they want to become a part of this political entity, or are you experiencing challenges in terms of just getting them to be aware, in terms of making their own contributions?
What we have happening under the new administration, the new composition of parliament, is that we find organizations, young people, individuals who are not a part of political parties, who are of themselves so motivated to desire change, to want change, that they have on their own have begun the process of demanding of their leaders that we need something different. We need something that affects us. We need something that affects our bread and butter issues. So I think that there is evidence that persons are not just interested in politics or political organization, but for themselves, they're also interested in their own well-being, which is manifested itself in the call for local government elections, which is manifesting itself with many calls for different persons to resign, which is manifesting itself in Kaito News exposing a lot of irregularities in our nation. And individual citizens and young people, the bloc that people disregard many times, are the ones who are very vocal on these particular issues.
All right. I'm going to pull Benita Sampson in the conversation now, because in society we also have and I don't think this is an issue that only faces young people. It's across the board, whereby sometimes women, we still believe that we're not necessarily on par with the men, especially regarding politics. Benita, do you get the sense that the women are as ready as the men to take the reins of power in any organization?
Yes, I believe that the women are as equipped and are as ready for the challenge of taking the PNCR and the APNU to government. I believe the women in our party are strong and active and vocal, and they are the people who the men depend on to get the work done.
What about the young women? I see Brian smiling, but I'm not going to allow him to jump in on this part again, because come on, I'm a female too. So, Benita, what about young women? What are some of the challenges that I know some of the challenges that we face, but things that need to be addressed immediately so we can feel a bit more part of the process?
I would like to say that as young women, we would like to be elected to certain positions in the party, given more opportunities to do more work and to be more visible in the public, because a lot of the times you see a lot of male politicians but not enough female politicians, and that's not the case. It's not that we're not here or that we're not being given the opportunity or anything like that, but we would like to be given the opportunity. I would like to be given an opportunity.
And sometimes the men try to intimidate us, like Brian is trying to do right now, by just looking at you.
Oh,
I'm just
Viewers,
listening. I'm just
viewers,
listening
we're gonna
here.
try to
I'm
take
just
a break.
listening.
We're gonna take a break in a moment because I did tell you that we have some poetry for you also because we also want you to feel a bit inspired because it's Sunday, so we're not only discussing very very serious issues regarding us, but we just want to ensure that you're having a great Sunday regarding whatever we put out there. But before I go to that break, I'm going to throw this question out there, and I'd like each of you to jump in on it. Do you believe that the persons we have currently in leadership positions, of course, they're much older than us, decades older than us, do you believe that they're ready to give us a fair chance to make our contribution rather than just waiting until there's an election or there's some function and jumping up and say, oh, the youths are the future and you have to take the reins? Do you believe that they're actually prepared to have some of us understudy them so that we can become as good as they are, so that when they step aside we're equipped enough to do it? I'd like all three of you to jump in on this, of course, separately. Kibri, I don't know if you want to
Well,
go first.
from my point of view, I can speak on behalf of our leaders.
Mhm.
They are more than willing and ready for us to be under them and understudy them because sooner or later we will have to take their positions. That's no doubt. And the fact of which you would say, let's just come off of what we know that our leaders will allow us to do.
Mhm.
We as young people, they say we are the future or we are the leaders of tomorrow. And my concept is tomorrow we'll be as old as our elders.
Mhm.
So we are the leaders of today. So even if they are not ready for us to take that level of stepping up on that ladder, we as young people are not going to stay here and allow them to say, all right, now's the time to come. We are moving. We are going to keep climbing until we reach them and say, all right, we gotta give them a chance. They're squeezing me too hard. You know what I mean? We have to be. We are vibrant. We are not here just gonna sit down here and say, okay, we're gonna wait until they're ready to move, and then we're gonna go. We are moving all the time. That's the vibe that we want with young people. We have to show or prove ourselves that we are worthy of leadership. We are worthy of taking up senior positions. Because we may be young, but I do think that this country needs this young flavor. And we are the majority of this country of today. So that's my point of view of our leaders and our young people in the position of between our leaders and the young people.
Okay, Benita.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Coppola and what he said about our leaders. I believe that they are open to the younger persons in the party stepping up to leadership roles. And but I also, like Mr. Copeland said, we have to prove ourselves.
Okay.
We have to show ourselves worthy of the time that it would take to train us to become the leaders of tomorrow. Although we would do a lot on our own, we could learn a lot from the older persons. So while we would have new vision or new ideas, we need guidance from the older persons.
Okay. Before Brian jumps in, but it's interesting that you said that. But are enough of us proving that look, we're worthy for these positions and for this future leadership?
Well, I can only speak about the current executive. that have been,
That's why I
was
said
just going to
enough
jump
of us.
in.
If enough of us. All right. Before I hand it over to Brian.
I was going to jump in, right? Because on the exec we have 23 members, right? And it takes one to make a change. And there's already 23 of us. And I'm sure that I have influence over 10, 20, and Benita there goes and there goes. So we young people are going. We are motivated. I'm not a one of a kind. There are much more young people who are out there with their drilling in, just waiting for their time to peep in. Some might come through politics, some might come through poetry, some might come through sports, in whatever way, but we are ready to take that step of leadership.
Okay.
That's my...
Brian?
In expressing confidence in our leadership, I think the evidence of the GYSM is testimony. The leaders believe that young people are important and that we have a voice to say. You see, we have a voice. The GYSM serves as an advisor in an advisory capacity to the leadership of the party. The principal officers of the GYSM, which outnumber female to men, are the ones higher in the hierarchy of the GYSM, which has a lot of females.
Preach it, brother.
There are only 3 males.
Exactly.
And these officers are the ones who drive the GYSM. These officers are the ones who sort of help to usher and control how the GYSM functions. The GYSM, in its youth capacity, lends its support to the leadership. The leadership takes our advice on board. You see, there's evidence of the leader speaking about, leader of the PNCR, that is Ms. David Granger, leader of the opposition, speaking about a youth policy, speaking of the one nation policy. A one nation inclusive of young people. He speaks about youth entrepreneurship, youth empowerment, all these policies which would have had their genesis in the GYSM. So I believe that the leadership is very confident that there are young people that are present, are there to be educated, and in the future to take the reins of government.
Okay, perfect. And I think that's a proper note to take a break. When we come back, of course, remember we're talking youth, the importance of youth and all of that. So it's we can't possibly have a program like this and not talk about some of the social issues that are facing our youth. You have things like unemployment. Benita and I were talking about it earlier, talking about the fact that suicide continues to plague our young people, and of course there's other crimes in general, things that are definitely keeping back and holding the development of youth back. So we'll take that break, and when we come back, there's much more on Nation Watch. Welcome back. Of course, that was some inspiration for you on this Good Sunday from the late, great Maya Angelou. I know some of you are poet fans out there, poem fans, and you are a big fan of Miss Maya Angelou. Now, again, for those of you just joining us, of course, this is Nation Watch, and today we're focusing on youth, the importance of young people in our society, and some of the things that are bothering us, that are troubling us, and some of the things that are challenges actually, that are keeping us from moving forward in the way that we should actually be doing. And I want to start off this time with Benita Sampson. Now, as young women, there are lots of challenges out there in terms of our growth and in terms of our development. What is the most prevalent issue you think at this time, the prevalent social issue at this time that is facing young people, that young women actually, keeping us from moving forward?
Well, as young women in society, we would like to know that the government cares about our security. It is important that if it is that we want to go out, whether we're going out alone or with our friends, that we should feel safe and know that we're not going to be at the hands of criminal elements, and we're not going to be mugged, we're not going to be robbed, we're not going to be murdered, kidnapped, we're not going to be raped. I think those are some issues that could be addressed.
Do we have a strong enough system? Of course, I know the People's National Congress Reform has a women's arm. There are other non-governmental organizations out there that address women and gender issues. But do we have a strong enough grouping or a strong enough project to really address these things? Not only address the security of young women, but in terms of training, in terms of empowering us. Some people may argue with me and say that, look, you have to empower yourself. But do you think that there's a grouping that could, provide empowerment for young women? Do we need it?
Well, I think that if young women need to be empowered, you should know that it's not going to be given to you on a silver platter. You have to work, you have to get yourself educated, you have to prove that this is my right and you're not going to give it to me, so I have to take it, I have to earn it. And probably it isn't the ideal situation, but that is the reality.
Okay. Go ahead.
That is a reality, right? And get up and get. And a problem that we may have is that a lot of the young people, especially women, dealing with peer pressure and these, the whole thing of being a woman. As you said, some of them should go and get up and get knowledge. Majority of them will stay and combine themselves and just deal with the situation. That's why we have a lot of men killing their wives or kidnapping, who's been stabbed, etc. So that's why I'm aware that we do have a lot of women organizations and movements in Guyana, right? These women now, they're doing a good job by getting the knowledge out to the person, because not everybody can go out there and say, you know what, I tired of being abused, I'm going to look for knowledge. The fact of just going out there is frightening. right? They don't know who to go to. They are unaware. So it is needed for women's organizations, women movements to educate persons who are afraid to reach out and get knowledge, so they can bring the knowledge to them, either through the television or however way that they may try or do forms and ways that they might try to get the information to these young women. So that's my view on that.
Let's talk about, I want to follow up on that, your comments, because we were having this discussion at a meeting yesterday too. We often hear about, and which is true, I think there are statistics that prove that women are more often abused more than men, even though some men argue, oh hey, I'm abused too, but I'm a man, so I can't necessarily come out public and say it. Let's talk about this. Our boys and our men who abuse women, what are we missing? Because yes, we talk about protection for the women. We don't want our women to be abused, but what is driving our men to be so abusive? Some of them even murder these women. Let's talk about that. And I know Brian is anxious to jump in here, but I want to hear from you first.
If you permit me. Now, when it comes to men and women and the whole gender balance, and of course with domestic violence, etc., of course you hear more cases of women being abused. The men is more aggressive, the men are more what would you say, manly, or however, take advantage. Now, the fact there are cases, it's most evident there are cases that there are men that being abused, but those cases won't reach far, at least the papers or news, because one, a man would feel embarrassed to go and say, no, my wife has beat me, or my girl has do me, or so whatever it. And also for the men who will take it out on the women also, I don't know if to be exact, if it's a society problem, because it has to be triggered from something. A person don't just flip out just so. Something had to be triggered. Either something because of a woman or because of society. Let's say the society is tough, you stressed out, and then she come nagging, or she do something, the man flipped out and he does kill a woman, right? I do not indulge in a man taking it that far, of course, but that's the reality of the day. There are a lot of men that not everybody can take on that pressure. So they end up going and lashing out and doing something and thinking about it afterwards. Did I just do that? You know, but that is exactly what is happening.
But does it start from the home, the type of training that you get from your mother, the nurturing? Is it that we're not? I mean, because even putting men hitting women aside, two women may have an argument, the other one picks up a knife. Two men, the same thing. Is it that we've lost the ability to be rational and to say, look, I'm angry, we had an argument, I walk away? Is it that we've lost that ability?
I think the society of today is very brutal and very aggressive. The slightest thing, like the man who died from telling the man don't pee on his bus, he got stabbed to death for telling the man not to pee on his bus. That is ignorance, to be frank, right? And I don't know if the society is far different from, well, at least when I was young, it wasn't that violent. Yeah. You know, we come and we just knock each other's chest, don't touch me. This is about it. You walk away.
Feel macho.
Now you want to reach up close to somebody, you know, if they got a knife and they want to stab it to death. Down to women also are violent. They pick up something and lash in your head, right? So it's a whole kind of arrogance and this whole fatigue, and the person is supposed to be setting an example. As for the police force, they don't play. I've witnessed myself being on a veranda and see that some police run behind some young men because they jumped the fence. Pie. And people were wrong. It's all about, you know, you run, we shoot at you. Right? I don't know if this country at this point, this state is very violent.
We're probably frustrated.
That's the right word. Frustration. Like nobody got time, but I think people don't got a whole, alright, let's slow it down. You come home from work, your boss deducts some of your pay of the pay that you're not accepting already. You don't like the salary already, but they get deducted. Your wife in your face about some light bill, phone bill, water bill, children come home, daddy, you're hungry, and all this, and then somebody come in your face and tell you something stupid. Like, look, boil up in the man is
You explode.
Society has a lot to do with people's mental capacity. It is proven all over. Society does this. Right? So that's proven.
Brian.
I think that there's a whole list of causes, a whole long list. And the effect is, or the result is, that we see this violence in society. We can start with substance abuse. 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds drinking. Why? Are they stressed so early? You can look at the prevalence of suicide now in our young children. What is wrong?
That's right.
Do they lack the ability to solve disputes?
Peer pressure.
We can talk about the recent case of the two young men who burned down Granny house trying to rob Shin. What is it? Are we so animalistic that we have to go to such desperate measures to satisfy our needs? We live in a society of instant gratification. I want it now. I see somebody driving a car. Why can't I drive that tomorrow? We live in a society where honorable work is not respected, where it is easier or better, or I think it is better, for me to go through a back channel to get something. Unfortunately, everyone doesn't have that luck. And what happens to the person who tries to go through the back channel and gets caught?
Or shot.
Or shot. We live in a society where rules aren't respected. You can have one set of citizens, one set of young people, mind you, who can live a certain way, and another set wondering, what is it? Why am I different? In our society where we celebrate the top 10% of persons who would have done successfully at the CSEC and CAPE exams, that's wonderful. That's nice. What about the 90%? What about those who are in our community high schools? Where is their place in society? How do we integrate them into society? Or are we comfortable with them lying on the corner, looking at Granny, seeing watch Granny getting a pension every month? I mean, Granny used to work in she all day, but they ain't seen the part. But just seeing Granny get the pension, and I want some of the pension because I get a girlfriend. I want a boots. I want a A6. I want a PSP. I want to live life. I want to get some drugs. I want to smoke some cigarette. I mean, it's a whole lot of causes. A whole lot of causes.
I'm not wanting to play a jumping jack. Just to make a quick point. A quick point to what Brian said about our young people in society just while doing these kind of things. I'm a politician, of course. So I do see things to a political angle in which our superiors, well, not my superiors, but the superiors of this government of the day are not setting an example, because as we know, they are also doing these things or moving in these rational behaviors. The police force is out of hand. The ministries and the ministers are also out of hand. So there's no proper example or no role model up there that is showing that, this country, this is the way it should be go. From the top, things bad. So why the bottom must be different? Times on hard. I best say just do what I want to do.
If I could walk into the competition again
yes.
quietly.
No.
By
I
all
would like to
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. A lady gets first
I yielded to the female.
Yes, Benita, walk right in.
Well, I would like to say that both of my colleagues, while they were very articulate in their discussions about their points, they didn't answer the question. Malika was asking us about the causes. What is the reason for
And I think-
this?
I
And
think we did.
you guys spoke
I
to the
think we did.
results. So what I would like to say is, yes, I believe that it begins at home. And how you train your children, you must pay attention to your children. I mean, they're your responsibility. I mean, after a certain age, your children make their own choices, but I believe that if you give them a good foundation, your children will be able to, and education, your children will be able to make better choices about what kind of life they want to live and what they need to be doing in order to get that kind of life.
But Benita, how do we say to, one second, Brian, how do we say to a single mother who coming from a single mother, of course, myself, she managed to balance it very well. But how do you say to a single mother in 2014 who has 4 children and she probably works day and night, even if it's one job, by the time she gets home, she makes dinner or whatever, and she's extremely tired? How do you say to that single mother to, 2 daughters and 2 sons, how do you get her, not even say it to her, how do you get her to instill these values in her 2 sons, I know Brian thinks he has the answer, but I want to hear from the female first. Yes, Benita.
Well, my mother is a single mother as well. She raised me on her own for a large part, but not on her own also. I believe that it takes a village to raise a child. If you can't look out for your child, you ensure that your neighbor, the people in the village, your cousin, your auntie, somebody must always know where your child is. You must always know where your child is, what they're doing. You should always make every effort not to let your child feel like they're not important to you, or that to make them feel that they're loved all the time at every stage.
Okay.
If you can't be there, make sure
Make sure
else
somebody's
is.
there. Okay, good. I mean, I know sometimes our society gets very selfish. It's like, oh, it's not my business. It's for perfect
None of my
example.
business,
Yeah, yeah. Perfect example. I was reading this article where I think, yes, I think it's New Amsterdam. A house was burnt to the ground, and this story, according to the story, they're thinking that it's because the 4-year-old child was playing with a lighter is the reason for the fire. Now, after the house is already burnt to the ground and the reporters show up, somebody says, "Oh, moments before the fire started, we saw this 4-year-old child with a light." And I'm thinking, are we so selfish? If you see a child with a light or matches, don't you
Take
find
it
a
away.
way to get it from? So I understand what you're saying in terms of the fact that it takes a village to raise a child, but I think we should also remember that unfortunately society has, we have become selfish. It's a fact. It ain't my business, so I'm moving on with my thing. Brian, you wanted to interject.
Yes, I accept. I accept what Ms. Sampson was saying. You know, it's easy for us to look at the first things that appear to us. And yes, education plays a vital role, a very important role in the process, in correcting this behavior. It is popular. There's a meme, sorry, right? Of Kermit the Frog
Yes.
sipping Lipton, ain't none of my business though.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I mean, people are proud. People are happy to, you know what? This is going on, but you know what? I'm gonna turn the other way and continue my business. That's where we are now.
Mm.
That's the place where we are. So it's difficult now for anybody to look out for anybody's child. And also, you have a lot of not law-abiding citizens out there. So you gotta be careful who looking out for your child. Because some people
Yeah.
don't have your interest at heart and can use the situation to their advantage. So we also need to be very careful, very, very careful
But,
of
yeah.
persons
Who
we
helps
have,
us to
who
raise our
help.
children?
And
And by
back-
doing a disservice.
All right, I'm gonna come to Kiwi before we have to take that other break to show the other poem.
And
Go ahead.
back to society. The corruption and frustration of society also will push the citizens of the country also to be in a don't care attitude. It's like, I don't stress already, why must take on she's stressful. Let's look, we're young peoples. We know about the movie Spider-Man. And we know how his father died. He did not get paid. He was robbed from the fight in which he did. He did not get his money, so he was frustrated. And a man came with a gun to rob the same man who did not pay him. And what he did, he left the man, even though he had a potential to stop him, he left him to let the man rob him. That same man went outside now and shot his father dead. So even though he did not stop that,
Yes.
he did,
That was one with Spider-Man.
right?
talking about.
Yeah, the
Kiwi,
first one.
I'm think they're trying to tell you not the father, the uncle. But
The
it's
uncle.
Yeah,
all
okay.
right.
All
We
right,
understand.
the father, the uncle of yeah, one put it. But so society also, you see how the pressures also it hits here. Back in the days, I could hear stories that if you do something wrong, the whole village would beat you till you reach home, and then the money beat you
And then
again.
Can't
No.
complain.
The moral values has gone. By the time you tell somebody son something, they say F you. And you dare don't touch them. The whole family come for beat you up. Why you touch me child? Even if you do something bad, you don't touch it. It's me child. Let me deal with it. And this is the society of today. So the society is a wreck. It's caused frustration and this whole fatigue of people being so stressed out. Nobody got time for work. Nobody problems.
child.
I have problems. Why must I work your problems?
Why
I'll
are your
work
problems so
mine.
special?
Yeah, if I can use the
Exactly.
Facebook young people term, what's it? Ain't nobody got time for
Ain't
that.
nobody got time
Yes,
for that?
nobody got time for that.
Unfortunately.
But until we come collectively and assist each other, we are gonna solve all of our problems. Because in this world, we don't need. It's not one. You're not an island. You're not an island. I need this young woman. I know if I gotta get children, I gotta get a girl. Understand me? If I want a family, I get a woman. So I need companionship. I need friendship. I need this quorum here so we can have this program here also. So we need all together togetherness.
All right.
That's my
All right. Folks, we're going to take a final break, and when we come back, we'll try to stitch in, because we're almost out of time too, we'll try to stitch in a small discussion about unemployment, because that's another issue that we as young people are faced with, and then we'll have to wrap up the program. But here's some more inspiration for you on a Sunday.
Maya Angelou.
All right, the final poem that we're going to show you from Maya Angelou today, and I trust that you're really, really inspired and that you focused on everything that she has to say. And I know this one particularly inspired Benita Sampson, so I am going to allow her to talk about that for a couple of seconds or so. I don't know if you're a Maya Angelou fan, but there are lots of them out there. And not only Maya Angelou, but poets in general. We have a poet sitting right next to me. Kibu is also a poet.
Yeah.
And, you know, these things try to bring about a sense of, at least it does that for me, bring about a sense of calm when you listen to inspiring words and, you know, telling you things that you should do, things that you should not do. It really, really helps. Benita, you want to jump in on this?
Well, I think I may have seen the program before, but I was just inspired by the last few words. I hope that the viewers are listening. If we have young people that are viewers, a lot of the times what we like to say as young people that our situations, we're limited by our situations. And Miss Angela was saying that whatever it is that I have, or the person that you're looking at, you're thinking that they're better than you, whatever it is that they have, you have. You just have to make up your mind that you're going to use your energy for good. And I think it's a powerful message, and I really hope that the young people have been listening, and the old people as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Wonderful.
And just as a final comment to that also, to just inspire young people. I know Maya Angelou also showed some persons that who have made it big into today's world society. And let's look at Martin Luther King. He was a civil rights activist at the age of 12. Mother Teresa, at 12 years old, she realized that she was, going to put her life into God. Mahatma Gandhi, at the age of 13, he was the leader of the civil rights activists of India and the face of the Indians' push at the age of 13. Malcolm X, well, he was going over, but at the age of 27. So these are young people that started very early in age, and look at them. Look at their positions. These people that we look up to today. Look at where they started. So young people, we're not exceptional. We have to keep moving.
All right. One of the major challenges facing young people now is the fact that there are no jobs. Unemployment is a big issue. I mean, Brian talked about it earlier. We talked about the fact that we have a group of young people who just completed CXC and CAPE, and they have these 18 ones and 19 ones. What are they going to do? The first thing is, I'm going to go to Eugene for my studies. That's good and well, but then we're in an era where the University of Guyana is in trouble. Whether the government wants to get us out or get the University of Guyana out of the trouble that it's in or not, the fact is the University of Guyana is in trouble. How do we solve this particular problem facing young people? There are no jobs. I don't know who wants to start on this one.
If I may, jobs. That's I should think number one headlines, because majority of the young people are out of jobs. Money is an issue, of course. That's one of the reasons why we have so much criminal acts of robbery and killing, etc. Trying to get money.
But if I may jump in here, just so the viewers can be clear, we're not excusing criminality and criminal behavior.
Exactly.
Good. Go
Not
ahead.
excusing. Now, jobs. My theory is that what is the government doing to implement more jobs for young people? That's my. Let's look at foreign investment or economic adventures, right? Now we have these people who are coming to the country also who are doing big economic things in this country. As you watch the papers yesterday, there's Baishanling and there's this other Indian lumber company. I think it's Varta. The spelling is kind of different, right? But these are persons that bring big industries into the Guyana, and also they rip in our natural resources, lumber, gold, diamond. They're also into the industry of building, etc. Now, what are they doing to benefit us? As being a part of a seminar with ECHO, that's an organization, that's an environmental organization, they're saying that these pure persons come and they rape our forest. But that's to give it a young people's term. They're raping our forest, and they are using protection, so they're not planting any seeds to recuperate those trees that they ripped out. So they're just ripping and pulling them out of here. What are we benefiting from that? Look at Linden, highly populated, out of jobs. And most of these industries are done in that area. Kokwani, Aichuni, Linden, Moblissa, etc. What are these industries, foreign investors, doing to assist these persons in our country, besides jobs, returns, and also keeping our forest intact? The government is allowing these people to come and rip this country apart. And jobs are, people's got to be laid back and watch these people come to a country. They even get a duty-free concession. You buy a car, you got to pay 100% of tax. And then the tax can help somebody buy a Hummer limousine or take somebody to Miami to deal with the belly ache. So these are the things that we do in this country. We out of, and that's a point to note. We are the second poorest country in the Caribbean after Haiti. Look at the big buildings. Look at the big TV station, the TV shows that show that we are a developing country, we're this and we're that. We are poor people. This country economy is going down, going down, going down. But the ones that has it are trying to push that to front as if we are all well and sorrow. But it's not so, it's not so.
Okay.
That's the deal.
Benita, I'm gonna ask you to come in here too, because we see, especially when young women, when we're unemployed. Again, I'm not saying that it's right, but not every young woman is, strong enough to stay the course. But we see when young women are unemployed, and unfortunately, in most cases, uneducated, they end up in certain communities and they become prostitutes, and some of them are even trafficked. People like to say that prostitution is a choice. I don't want to agree with that 100%. It's not necessarily a choice. They have no choice. How do we solve the problem of unemployment, especially for young women, and keep them from being trafficked and becoming prostitutes?
Well, I know that some organizations in society provide remedial education for women who have not gotten their high school degrees, their CXC diplomas or whatever. But I know that they have other options. They could go into craft and start their own businesses, small businesses at home. They have other options. I would not necessarily say that prostitution is not a choice. But I think some women choose.
Some women, you feel.
I
that
mean,
some women
maybe
choose.
circumstances.
Everybody got their own views. Everybody got their own.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. I don't necessarily agree that it's that you
I know.
choose. Some people are forced to.
Yeah.
Because majority of the prostitution
Not
is country.
necessarily physically forced, but you're left with, what am I to do? I have 2 children. I have a child. The security, the night job that I do as a security officer is not paying enough. So,
On that same point, a security job, right? I know sometimes jumping a little steady, right?
It's okay.
But the thing that just hit me. I don't like the whole fact of the security, especially with women. Majority of security persons are women. The flaunted the security places are women. And here that breaks down the whole society. Now you're being a single parent. Let's say you have 4 daughters, 2 sons. And your security, you have to work in the night. When you leave your house at night to go and work as a security, at that night time, you have to leave those children unguarded from you. Majority of them are still in teens. They're still not really guided, and the mother don't go through stress already. Finances are low. The young boys might hit the streets in the night to go to the recipes and get all in drugs. The girls might go out. Some man might pull in. This whole controversy now is happening. When the mother do come home now in the morning, she's so tired, hadn't had sleep last night, so she don't have time to cope and be with them during the day. So she's no parental guidance, and that breaks out into this whole society.
All right, folks, we've gotten a lot out of this conversation, and we can get so much more. We have about 4 minutes before we wrap up. One thing that I did not get to touch on, I like Brian. I think Brian wants to jump in on this. Okay, Brian Smith, the National Secretary of the GYSM, I'll allow you to comment on this unemployment issue.
Yes.
Yes, you're welcome.
Employment of young people. I mean, a lot of times we streamline our minds into, everybody wants to be a doctor, lawyer. That's it. Everybody wants to be their own established careers. There's employment through entrepreneurship.
Yes, that's it.
There's employment through entrepreneurship. I mean, we can cut wood, we can process that wood and make floorboards, add value adding to our products. I mean, the planet chip on the road is all nice and dandy, but we can take it a step further.
Yeah, but people need to be trained to do those things also. I'm not arguing against entrepreneurship. I'm just saying that these are not things that you find classes or subjects on easily. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe in the Guyanese ingenuity. Back in the day, when things were banned, we found ways of making do and doing all sorts of things without scholarly education. So I would not dare downplay the Guyanese mind
Okay.
and how smart we are in finding out resourceful ways of doing things. I think that we've just streamlined ourselves in just accepting established career paths when there exists a very large area that we don't explore, that is employment through entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Especially young people, you don't always have to depend on somebody to pay you. Pay yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Statue.
I guess yeah. That's inspiration for some young people.
But that also will have to be coupled with a national policy for youth development.
Well,
Because
there
if
you
we
go.
can't challenge the young people through somewhere, then what are they going to do?
I promise to have another program where we specifically talk about youth
Youth
policy
policy.
and youth development. But I always like to end on the note, lady and gentlemen, always like to end on the note of a solution. Were a partnership for now, PNC, through a partnership for national unity, of course, to take the reins of government when next we have elections, whether it be the end of this year or next year, because as you know, the talk of no confidence motion is floating around. And the three of you were chosen to play some major role in leadership positions. Do you think that you can sit down and come up with a proper plan to address these issues that we've discussed today that plague and that challenge youth in society, beginning with you, Brian Smith?
As National Secretary with GYSM and in charge of policy, I am enamored with the responsibility of creating such policy. As I just spoke about entrepreneurship, there exists, and we continue to craft our plan as we consult with youth around the country, how it is we're going to solve this national unemployment debacle that we have. All right? It's not a case where the YSM sits there and just has an executive body. We have our plans. We have been working on those plans and keep refreshing those plans. It's just a matter of when we shall get into government come January, I believe it shall be. It's just a matter of hitting the ground running. So the YSM is fully prepared
Okay,
in
great.
that regard.
Benita.
Well, I don't believe that all the issues that we have touched on today is by no means an exhaustive list, right?
Okay.
But I think that with having talks with young people in other youth organizations as well as young people on the street, we can get a sense of what the need is, and we will try our best, not on our own, but with their help and with others helping us to address all of the issues that would be raised.
Okay, Kibwe.
And give a quick brief. We at the new exec of GYSM, we have plans, and also we'll have more plans, proactive plans. I want to emphasize on the word proactive plans, right? Which will contribute to the development of the country and its people. I want to emphasize on youth again. For the GYSM, as it says for itself, the Guyana Youth and Student Movement, which is the youth arm of the PNCR, People's National Congress Reform. And just to get to the gist of it, we are a bunch of young people who are willing to stretch our hands out and our knowledge to the length and breadth of this country, to hold with whichever youth we have to hold with, and also our elders, to put a fight towards hypocrisy and stand firm for democracy. And we are going to do that in whatever way we can, through education, gender equality, end of racial division, end of discrimination of the disabled, all. So that is our concept at UISM. So we are ready. And if we're put in such positions, we will do whatever it takes. Even if we are not so aware, we are going to hit the streets and be aware. Find what uncle want, what auntie want, what grandmother want, and we put all together and make citizens-friendly policies.
Okay,
That's
thank
my
you very
point.
much. That's it. Folks, we're out of time. We have to go. With me on the panel today, of course, we discussed youth issues, youth leadership, and the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. We had Mr. Kibwe Copeland, newly elected Junior Vice Chairperson of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. He's also a Region 4 Councillor. Ms. Benita Sampson, recently and newly elected General Council member of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. Mr. Brian Andre, I forgot that earlier, Mr. Brian Andre Smith,
We didn't need
the
that.
National Secretary, newly elected National Secretary of the Guyana Youth and Student Movement. I am Malika Ramsey. It has been a pleasure. As always, I encourage you to be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And of course, join us again next time. Good.